The wedding band had just finished playing our first dance song when I saw Melissa weaving through the tables toward the stage. My sister had that look, the one I'd seen 1,000 times before when she was about to make herself the center of attention. Her sequined gold dress caught the light with every unsteady step. She'd had too much champagne. Again. I touched James's arm gently. She's going for the mic. My new husband tensed beside me, his jaw tightening. Should I stop her? No, I said, adjusting my veil with perfectly steady hands. Let her. He gave me a strange look but didn't move as Melissa climbed onto the stage, grabbing the microphone from the confused band leader. The room began to quiet, 200 guests turning their attention to my younger sister. I saw my mother half rise from her seat, anxiety written across her face. She knew, just like I did, that Melissa plus microphone plus alcohol equals disaster. But she didn't know what kind of disaster. Excuse me, everyone. Melissa's voice rang out, slightly slurred but crystal clear. I have an announcement. The wedding coordinator looked at me frantically from the side of the room. I gave her a small shake of my head. Let it happen. My beautiful sister Emma just married James. Melissa continued, gesturing dramatically toward us. A few people clapped politely, confused. And I just want to say. She paused for effect, and I saw it in her eyes. That malicious little spark she got when she was about to hurt someone for her own entertainment. I'd seen it when she told my high school boyfriend I was cheating on him. I wasn't. I'd seen it when she announced my pregnancy loss at Thanksgiving dinner before I was ready to talk about it. I'd seen it my whole life. I'm pure Eugene and Aunt with the groom's baby. The words seemed to echo in a sudden silence. Then came the gasps, the scraping of chairs, the clatter of dropped silverware. Someone's wine glass hit the floor and shattered. My mother's scream cut through it all. Melissa. I stood there in my white dress, my grandmother's pearls cool against my throat, and smiled. Not a fake smile, not a shocked smile. A real, genuine smile. Perfect timing, I said, my voice carrying clearly across the stunned reception hall. Melissa blinked at me from the stage, clearly not expecting that reaction. She'd expected tears, rage, a scene. She lived for scenes. Emma, did you hear what I said? She leaned into the microphone. I'm pregnant, with James's baby. Your husband and I have been having an affair, I finished calmly. Yes, Melissa, I know, since last March, right? That conference in Miami, where you just happened to run into him. James had gone very still beside me. I could feel the tension radiating off him in waves. You knew. Melissa's voice had lost its triumphant edge. Of course I knew. I walked toward the stage, my heels clicking on the dance floor. Every eye in the room followed me, just like I know about the apartment in Riverside that James rented for your little meetings. The one he pays for with the credit card he thinks I don't know about. Emma, James started. Shia, I said without looking at him. It's Melissa's moment. She's been planning this for weeks. Haven't you, Mel? You even bought that dress specifically for today. Charged it to James's secret card, if I remember correctly. My sister's face had gone pale under her carefully contoured makeup. How could you possibly know that? I reached the stage and looked up at her. Because unlike you and James, I pay attention. I notice when my husband suddenly starts working late, when my sister develops a sudden interest in his hobbies, when hotel charges start appearing on credit card statements. I turned to face our guests, many of whom looked like they were watching the world's most uncomfortable reality show. I apologize for the drama, everyone. But since my sister chose this moment to share her news, I thought I should share mine as well. I reached into the small purse I left at the head table and pulled out a thick envelope. Daniel? A man in a dark suit stood up from a table near the back. My cousin Marcus almost fell out of his chair. That's Daniel Morrison, the private investigator who caught Senator Walsh cheating. Yes, it is, I said pleasantly. Daniel, would you mind? He made his way forward, pulling out a tablet. Of course, Mrs. Chin, sorry, Mrs. Patterson. Actually, I said just call me Emma. I'll be going back to Chen soon enough. The collective intake of breath from the crowd was almost comical. Daniel reached the front and turned his tablet toward the crowd, mirroring it to the big screen we used earlier for our slideshow of couple photos. No, James said, his voice strangled. Emma, please. These are from March 15th, Daniel said professionally as surveillance photos appeared on screen. Mr. Patterson and Ms. Chen at the Marlington Hotel in Miami. The photos were clear, crystal clear. James and Melissa in the lobby, in the elevator, entering their room together. March 22nd, Daniel continued, swiping. The Riverside apartment complex. More photos. James carrying groceries. Melissa arriving in her distinctive pink Mercedes. The two of them on the balcony, embracing. April 3rd. Stop, Melissa shrieked into the microphone. Stop it. This is illegal. You can't. Actually, everything was obtained legally, Daniel said mildly. Public places, no expectation of privacy. But my favorite, I said, is from 2 weeks ago. Daniel. The screen changed to a video. Security footage from a jewelry store. James and Melissa looking at rings. The audio was muffled but clear enough. When are you going to leave her? Melissa's voice. After the wedding, James replied, I need her trust fund to pay off the business loans first. 6 months, maybe a year. Then we can be together. The video paused on Melissa trying on what looked suspiciously like an engagement ring. The reception hall erupted. My mother had fainted. My father was being held back by 2 of my uncles as he tried to get to James, Melissa's boyfriend. Oh yes, she brought a date to my wedding while pregnant with my husband's baby, was stumbling toward the exit. Turn it off, James said desperately. Emma, please, we can talk about this. We are talking about it, I said reasonably, right now, in front of all these witnesses, which is going to be very helpful for the divorce proceedings. You planned this, he accused. You knew when you let us get married. I laughed. Oh, James, you really should have read that prenup more carefully. The infidelity clause is ironclad. You get nothing. No trust fund, no shared assets, no alimony. Nothing. But. And since you've been embezzling from my father's company to pay for your little love nest, you'll be lucky if you don't end up in jail. What? This came from my father, who'd broken free from my uncles. Did you think I wouldn't audit the books when I found out about the affair? I asked James conversationally. Really? You know I have a forensic accounting degree. Melissa dropped the microphone. It hit the stage with a piercing squeal of feedback. She was scrambling down from the stage, trying to flee, but her heel caught in her dress, and she went sprawling. Oh, and Alyssa, I called after her. Congratulations on the pregnancy, though you might want to get a paternity test. Daniel has some interesting footage from your girl's trip to Vegas last month. She froze on the floor, her face a mask of horror. That's right, I said. James isn't the only one who's been busy. What was his name? Trevor? The bartender. This is insane. James grabbed my arm. Emma, you can't do this. I looked down at his hand on my white sleeve, then up at his face. The handsome face I'd fallen in love with 5 years ago. The face that had promised to love and cherish me just 3 hours ago. Security? I called calmly. 2 uniformed men appeared as if from nowhere, because of course I'd hired security. I planned every detail of this day. Mr. Patterson is no longer welcome at this event, I said. This is my wedding too, James protested as they moved toward him. No, I corrected. This asterisk was asterisk your wedding. Now it's my divorce party. As security escorted him out, with Melissa scrambling after them, mascara streaming down her face, I turned back to the stunned crowd. I know this isn't the reception you were expecting, I said. But the good news is, the catering is already paid for, the bar is open for another 3 hours, and the band knows some excellent breakup songs. So please, stay and celebrate with me. Not the marriage I thought I was getting, but the freedom I'm choosing instead. For a moment, nobody moved. Then my college roommate Diana stood up and raised her champagne glass. To Emma, she called out, for having bigger balls than any man in this room. To Emma. The crowd roared, and suddenly everyone was on their feet, applauding. My mother had recovered from her faint and was making her way toward me, tears streaming down her face. Oh, honey, why didn't you tell me? Because you would have tried to fix it, I said, accepting her hug. You would have suggested counseling or talking it out. And I didn't want it fixed, Mom. I wanted it over. But the wedding, all this money, was worth it to see their faces, I finished. Besides, I needed them to go through with the affair long enough to establish a pattern for the divorce. And I wanted Melissa to think she won, right up until the moment she lost everything. My father appeared at my other side. The embezzlement? About 50,000, I told him. I have all the documentation. It's enough to prosecute if you want. He looked older suddenly, tired. My own son-in-law. And Melissa. I'm sorry, Dad. No, he said firmly. I'm sorry. We spoiled her. Let her get away with too much for too long. This is our fault as much as hers. The band leader tentatively approached. Ms. Chen, should we keep playing? Absolutely, I said. Start with, before he cheats. I have a bouquet to throw. As the music started up again and the crowd began to move, my Aunt Patricia sidled up to me. That was quite a show, she said. But darling, aren't you devastated? You just found out your husband and sister betrayed you. I found out 4 months ago, I corrected. I've had time to grieve the relationships I thought I had. Today isn't about pain, Aunt Pat. It's about justice. And the baby. I smiled. What baby? But Melissa said. Melissa says a lot of things. She's been claiming to be pregnant for the last 2 months, but Daniel has some lovely surveillance footage of her buying pregnancy tests in bulk and practicing her announcement in her car. She's not pregnant. She just wanted to hurt me in the most public way possible. Patricia's eyes widened. She faked a pregnancy. Among other things. Did you know she's been fired from her last 3 jobs for theft? Or that she's been intercepting my mail for years, stealing birthday cards from relatives? Or that she's the one who told my ex-boyfriend Brad that I was cheating on him in college? My God. She's sick, Aunt Pat, and I've enabled her by keeping quiet, by not wanting to cause family drama. Well, she wanted drama. She got it. The rest of the reception was surreal. People danced, ate, drank, and came up to congratulate me as if I'd won a prize rather than lost a marriage. The photographer kept taking pictures, joking that these would be the most interesting wedding photos he'd ever developed. Around midnight, as the party wound down, I stood on the balcony overlooking the city lights. Diana joined me, slightly drunk and fiercely loyal. You know what the best part is? She said. What? You're going to be a legend. The woman who turned her cheating husband's wedding into a divorce party. They'll be telling this story for decades. I laughed, surprising myself with how genuine it sounded. I suppose there are worse things to be remembered for. So what now? Diana asked. What's the plan? I looked out at the lights, thinking about the apartment I'd already rented across town, the divorce lawyer I'd retained, the job offer in Seattle I'd been sitting on, the life I'd been secretly planning while James and Melissa thought they were playing me for a fool. Now, I said, now I live, without lies, without betrayal, without people who claim to love me while stabbing me in the back. Just me starting over. And the trust fund? Will go to its intended purpose, opening a forensic accounting firm specializing in divorce cases, helping other women find out what their husbands are really up to. Diana clinked her glass against mine. You're going to be rich. I already am, I said. I just had to lose the dead weight to realize it. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I almost didn't check it, but curiosity won. Asterisk, this isn't over. You've ruined everything. You'll pay for this. Asterisk, Melissa. Of course. I screenshotted it, evidence for the restraining order, then blocked the number. By morning, I have my lawyer send cease and desist letters to both of them. By the end of the week, the divorce papers would be filed. By the end of the month, I'd be in Seattle starting fresh. But tonight I was going to dance at my own wedding-turned-divorce party, surrounded by people who actually cared about me. Tonight I was going to celebrate the end of a lie and the beginning of my truth. Come on, I told Diana, linking my arm through hers. Let's go show them how a real woman handles betrayal. With class, style, and a private investigator. Exactly. We went back inside, where the band was playing Stronger by Kelly Clarkson. I kicked off my designer heels, hiked up my wedding dress, and danced like I'd never danced before. Free, vindicated, alive. And if a few tears mixed with the laughter, well, that was okay too. You can't build a new life without mourning the old one, even if the old one was built on lies. But as I spun on the dance floor, surrounded by true friends and family, watching my father have James's things removed from our house via FaceTime, I knew one thing for certain. This was the best wedding reception I'd ever attended, even if the marriage only lasted 3 hours.